Hi everyone, my name is Monica Yearwood and welcome to my channel where I offer holistic solutions for the mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual diseases that come from our modern lifestyle. I am an Ayurvedic practitioner, yoga instructor, meditation teacher, and detoxification expert, and today we're going to talk about how to release emotional pain from the body. There's so much that you're going to learn in this lesson, so I hope that you grab a piece of paper and a pen. Turn off anything that can distract you so that you can really focus. Emotions are an inseparable part of our intelligence, but we're constantly told that they're inferior to our reason and not to make emotionally based decisions or to be overly emotional, to put our emotions aside. Consequently, a lot of us try to escape or deny our emotions or suppress them unconsciously. Instead of allowing ourselves to actually feel whatever it is that we are feeling, we try to get over it, distract ourselves from it with food, alcohol, TV, or work. But what happens to an emotion when it's suppressed? And does it have an effect on us? Where does the suppressed emotion go? We now have substantial scientific evidence to prove how emotional suppression has a negative impact on our health and can even shift our DNA. Emotional suppression leads to irregularities in the nervous system and the immune system and greatly contributes to disease manifestation, especially autoimmune diseases and certain types of cancer. But where do suppressed emotions come from? Why do we even do that to begin with? A lot of it actually has to do with the way that we are raised. We're not really raised in a very emotionally intelligent society. The feedback that we get around our emotions, that they're inferior, that you need to learn how to control them, that you should essentially suppress them from a very young age, teaches us to do just that. Not to mention the fact that since most of our parents didn't really know how to handle or deal with their emotions because their parents didn't teach them how to handle or deal with their emotions, a lot of us are just kind of trying to figure this stuff out to the best of our ability. Many women in our society are groomed from a young age to be nice and to be bubbly and to be happy and to suppress and push away negative emotions like anger. And that can lead us to override a lot of our emotional responses. Clarissa Pinkola Estes writes in her book, Women Who Run with Wolves, how a woman's socialization and domestication process has basically taught her to override her instinctive knowing in the favor of niceties. We can also inherit the suppressed emotions of our ancestors. The field of epigenetics, which is the scientific study of how our environment and our traumas and our emotions actually impact and change our DNA, proves what Ayurveda and yoga has taught for thousands of years, that we actually pass down our memory through the ancestral line. And so then our descendants can inherit the memory of what we've gone through. So when we're going to heal ourselves, it's always good to reflect on our ancestral line and to understand what we've inherited within the cultural context that we are currently in. Two of the most influential researchers within the field of trauma, Dr. Peter Levine and Dr. David Berceli, explore how trauma impacts the nervous system and how we actually store traumatic memory within the nervous system. In both of their teachings, they explain how the greatest missing link in our therapeutic processes and helping a person to recover from trauma is that we don't include methods that actually help the person to release the trauma from the nervous system or discharge it, which can consequently lead to a host of symptoms that impact a person not only mentally and emotionally, but also physically. So what are the symptoms of suppressed emotions? Repeating relationship patterns. So every time you choose not to heal your emotions, whether consciously or unconsciously, and you bury them into the shadow of your psyche, you increase the chance that you'll be attracted to either a romantic partner or a professional situation or a friendship that will actually play out that hurt with you. Because the primary reason why we come together into a relationship with another person is to mirror and reflect back what needs to be healed within, essentially to integrate, when we are not conscious of our suppressed emotions and feelings, we become attracted to a partner or a situation that will essentially bring it out and play it out over and over again. So if you look at your life and if you're able to see a recurring pattern, a repeating theme, and whether that's something that you experientially replay out with a person, or if it's a repeating emotional experience, in other words, you find yourself feeling the same way in relationships. Maybe you feel demeaned or unheard or not listened to. Those are clues that you actually have something that is suppressed within you. And that can happen because you're actually attracted to a situation that will replay that situation out with you. Or it could also be that you're projecting onto that person. So if you're not conscious of what you're suppressing, then it actually becomes a lens, and then you project your emotional hurt onto someone. So when that happens, you may or may not have an accurate read on reality or on your relationships. You may create unnecessary drama where there is none because you're projecting a past hurt. Maybe somebody betrayed you in the past and you assume that your next friend will do the same, and so you see life through that lens. Suppressed emotions create restlessness within the mind. So not being able to sleep because it's sort of festering in the back of your consciousness is common. Anger and irritability is a sign that there's something that needs to be dealt with within. Anxiety, insomnia, digestive issues, physical diseases, there is an amplitude amount of information that has come out in the scientific community that proves the relationship between our emotions and the suppression of our needs and the physical manifestation of disease in the body. This is something that ancient practices, ancient forms of medicine, shamanic systems have known for thousands of years, but it is certainly nice to have the scientific backing and the support from the medical community now. You could be unconsciously empathetic. So what that means is if you're a person that has so much empathy, you're constantly feeling other people's pains and emotions and their needs, but to the point where you lose sight of your own needs, then that is a sign that you're suppressing your emotions in order to prioritize what another person needs or wants. And that may have come from a relationship with a primary caregiver. If there was some kind of a dysfunction at home, if there was an alcoholic parent or an absent parent, and you had to become the nurturer and the parental figure essentially for the opposite parent, you may have learned from a young age that suppressing your needs won you affection and love from that parent. And so it conditioned you essentially to suppress your needs. On the flip side, you could have somebody in a similar situation who disconnects from their need of companionship or partnership or friendship and becomes fiercely independent, like they don't need anything from anyone. Weight gain or weight loss is also a sign of emotional suppression, both for different reasons. Some of my clients who have excess weight gain the weight during a stressful period of time. Chronic stress can impact the way that cortisol is functioning in the body, lead to holding on to weight. If you're somebody that's suffering from excess weight and you want to lose it permanently, I highly recommend that you sign up for my free masterclass, the 5 shifts that my clients use to lose weight permanently. And the link is either below in the description or in my bio, depending on where you're watching this video. Physical pain, especially in the neck and shoulders, the stomach and diaphragm, the low back, the hips, and the pelvic floor. So why is it important to release these suppressed emotions? Well, denied feelings turn into limiting beliefs that make people choose harmful behaviors or align with destructive relationships. It paralyzes people from saying stop and making changes that would bring them more joy and sense of self-worthiness. Also, our emotions are a form of our own intelligence, and actually our emotions are the storehouse of our intuition. Our intuitive knowing is our ability to see in the dark, to sense things, to sense our animal sense to know when things are good or bad for us. So every time you suppress a feeling or you suppress an emotion, you suppress an aspect of your intelligence and an aspect of your intuition. You also leave yourself open to align with wrong relationships, unfulfilling relationships, where you aren't able to speak and communicate your needs. And of course, it's important that you stop suppressing your emotions for your physical health. We know that suppressing your emotions, suppressing your voice, and suppressing your needs leads to disease manifestation. So then how? How do you actually release the emotions once they're trapped inside of the nervous system and they're not easy for you to access? So I would say that it is as much about releasing the emotions from your body as it is reconnecting with your emotions. When you go through something and suppress it, you're not just suppressing that isolated incident, you're also distancing yourself from your emotional intelligence. So when you release suppressed emotion, you also process it, you metabolize it, you digest it and assimilate it. In Ayurveda, it is said that a strong digestion is the ability to retain the nutrient of whatever was experienced or eaten and effectively expel the waste. So in doing this, you will find the bridge that connects the mind and the body. While here in the West and in many industrialized and modernized areas of the world, we really have been entrained to believe that the mind and the body is separate. But in Eastern systems like yoga and Ayurveda, we know that the mind and the body are interconnected, that we are one entire organism. Candace Pert, who was a famous neuroscientist, made some amazing discoveries in her lifetime and how emotion is literally stored all throughout the physical body. So now you've learned what emotional suppression is and what the symptoms of emotional suppression are. Now let's explore how you can actually handle and release the stored emotions from your body. I can give you some practices right now that you can start using right away that are extraordinarily powerful and effective. And I'm going to teach you 3 practices right now. If you haven't yet, grab a pen and a piece of paper so that you can actually write down how to do these things. And I so hope that you do. And I would love if you would share with me in the comments what happened in your process and what came up for you. At the very least, you're going to have the tools and the beginning to stop suppressing your emotions. You will also cultivate the communication network between your mind and your body that will allow you to release the suppressed emotions of your past. You will gain clarity around your needs in your relationships or your desired relationships personally and professionally. You will start to understand your patterns and you will be able to consciously and intentionally create new patterns that are more in alignment with your highest self. So here's practice number 1, which is to enhance your awareness and cultivate a communication network between your mind and your body. So part of helping to excavate these suppressed emotions is to stop suppressing the emotions. And the way to do this is through awareness. So becoming aware of how you actually feel. So a lot of times, for example, a person may get frustrated by their day and they're just frustrated and they're walking around in a huff, but they never really take the moment to stop and think, how am I feeling right now? And why am I feeling this way? And why am I choosing to interact with the situation? Or what is it that I need right now? How is it that I feel? And how could I potentially feel better? So that would be a moment of awareness. So whether you are talking to someone you don't want to talk to, or you're annoyed in a checkout line, or you're in a heated conversation with somebody, a difficult conversation, those are all the moments in which we may choose to push down our feelings or our emotions unconsciously, our true needs in that moment. So in the moment, it is in those moments that you can actually use those moments to feel what you're feeling, to become aware. So use this in moments when you're feeling unpleasant emotionally. Pay attention to how you feel. Notice the physical sensations that are happening in your body. If you're somebody that's attracted to relationships that you're not treated very well, this is really important for you to do. So just when you're around that person, when you're interacting with that person, notice the physical sensations that you feel in your body. Notice your heartbeat. Notice how your stomach feels. Just notice the physical sensations. Don't react to them. Just be with them and just observe them. Notice it. This is going to help you to establish the communication network between your mind and your body. So it's an example where your emotions and your feelings are communicating to you, but you're not really listening to what they're saying. You're kind of reacting, or it feels uncomfortable, but you're not really sitting down and thinking, observing and feeling them on a deeper level and what they're trying to communicate and say to you. So in those moments, ask yourself, what do I need right now to take care of myself? What do I need in this moment that would make me feel better, either from myself or from this other person? So that practice of awareness of your emotions and your feelings and just observing them is the preliminary to practice number 2, which is to find the root of the emotional signature. So after you practice technique number 1 for a time period, you will notice that you have certain emotional signatures. You will notice that you have some emotional signatures that are showing up in your relationships and situations in your life. In other words, you will see recurring emotional patterns. An emotional signature is when you had a moment in your life, usually it occurs in your childhood, where you had an experience that imprinted an emotional signature upon you. And that emotional signature is something that plays out in your relationships or situations. So for example, if you're attracted to relationships that demean you, or if you tend to sacrifice your needs, or if you tend to withdraw and pull your emotions back and shut down when you get too close with somebody. If you have an emotional imprint or a pattern with somebody in particular, then just notice the sensation when it arises and let yourself really feel it. Also, you don't have to do this practice directly with the person present in the moment. If you are in a relationship, any kind of relationship, friendship, professional relationship, whatever it is, any kind of relationship that is challenging to you, you could sit down and do it right now, where you focus on that feeling, that unpleasant feeling or sensation that you have with that particular person, and hyper focus on it, magnify it in your mind. Notice the sensations in your body. Take it a step further and notice when the most recent time it was that you experienced that sensation or that feeling. So for example, if it's that I don't feel like I'm listened to, I feel this person dismisses my needs. I try to talk to them about what's important to me and they just dismiss it. So how does that make me feel? Well, that makes me feel low priority. It makes me feel like I'm not important. It makes me feel invisible. It makes me feel unheard. It makes me feel scared, or it makes me feel angry, whatever the sensations or feelings are. Then you think about the most recent time that you felt it. Then you take it back a step further. Now, who was the person that I felt this way with before? So maybe it was a previous relationship. Maybe it was a previous professional relationship. Maybe it was a friendship. And then who was the person that I felt this way before? Okay, maybe it was somebody in high school. Who was the person that I felt this way before with? And so what you're doing is you're finding that moment in time where that emotional signature, that emotional imprint was laid upon you. So usually it's a childhood experience that imprinted that emotional signature within us. And so we may have a tendency then throughout our life to recreate situations that generate that feeling within us, because that is our baseline normal. So this is why people may get attracted to a primary partner who makes them feel nervous, scared, anxious, guilt-ridden, demeaned, whatever, because there was a powerful emotional signature imprinted upon them, usually in childhood, and we are attracted to what is familiar. But if that emotion is not resolved and we are living from an unconscious space, we'll be more likely to re-attract a partner or a person that's going to play that hurt out. unconsciously, way back in the recesses, the reason why we're attracted to that situation is to bring that wound forth so that it can heal. But if we are not unconscious of it, then we're going to be attracted to these patterns in unconscious ways and essentially play it out in a way that could potentially re-traumatize ourselves. Then when you become conscious of it, you become aware of that emotional signature. It doesn't mean that these situations are not going to happen in your life. It just means that you get an advanced degree. You ascend. Ascension is on a spiral, right? So we keep coming into the same sort of players and situations over and over and over again. But as we evolve in our psyche, we interface with them differently. So if you are like many people, you may have suppressed not only your emotions, but you may have suppressed your needs. Many of us learn how to do this as children when, for whatever reason, we decided that the way that we received love and approval from our primary parent was by putting their needs before our own. So there are two things that need to happen here. Three things, really. One is that the suppressed emotions need to come out so that they're metabolized and processed and assimilated so that the nutrient, the wisdom of what was experienced can be fully gathered, and so that we can reestablish our intuition and operate from our highest self and utilize the full potency of our intuition. And then the next part of it is, of course, this will enable us to communicate and speak what we actually need. And then the third part is that there needs to be this ongoing practice of awareness around what we're feeling and our emotions and how we can care for ourselves and practice self-care in the moment and not reactively. Please remember that most of us have to learn how to connect with our emotions, to not suppress our feelings, and to learn how to communicate our needs. So there's a lot to be grateful for when it comes to our awareness around this topic today. And that said, and with compassion, here is the third exercise that can help you to communicate your needs with somebody you're in relationship with. So I know that if we're not clear about what our needs are, or if we have a time disassociating from our needs, disconnecting from what our needs are, when we get in these certain situations, relationship where we want something different or a different outcome, and we have to communicate what we need, it can be really challenging. And so this is an exercise that can really help you to get clear about what your needs are and to communicate them effectively. So you can write this down and bring it with you when you're going to have this conversation. So the first thing you want to do is write down all the facts about the situation. What is factually true about the situation? And then write down all the thoughts that come up about the situation, which the thoughts may or may not be true. It's just your thoughts. It's all the thoughts that come as a byproduct of the facts related to the situation. And then the feelings, all the emotional experiences and the feelings that you have about this particular situation. And lastly, your needs, what you want, what you need from it. So you can take this piece of paper with you when you communicate to this person and speak all of those things out loud. And don't skip out on any part of it, especially the needs part, because that tends to be the most challenging to communicate and say, this is what I need. So thank you so much, and please comment below. Please let me know how the exercises help you and share your experience. I'd like to know more about you and your way of experiencing your emotions. And please, share this video with anyone you think that you can help. Also, to let you know, I have a free masterclass right now on the 5 shifts my clients use for permanent weight loss. And so as you probably have gathered by now, my approach is very holistic, especially when it comes to weight loss. We do a lot of work with the emotional self and connecting with what we need, mind, body, and spirit. Again, thank you so much for your time and your attention. Congratulations, you made it to the end of the video. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. It helps me a lot with my algorithm. And I hope that this information aids you on your path.